All right, so I had a few questions about scales and talking about what it would look like to break down the theory behind scales and how you play certain parts and how do you know what notes to play, I guess is the right thought. And for me, I can tell you really simply, I don't really know backwards and forwards every single scale, and I don't think you need to. For most music, I don't think you need to know your Dorian and your Mixolydian and your Ionian. I don't know. Here's what I know. I know the major scale and the pentatonic scale, and I work out of those. And really, it's about knowing your chord shapes, because if you know all your chord shapes, I feel like you can kind of easily navigate your way through all this. So I'll try to quickly explain what I mean. So let's take a G, for example. Just the G scale, right? See where I can see my fingers better. So nothing to it, really simple, right? And what I think maybe would be helpful is, when I was first learning, I would think about the way that the guitar is laid out from top to bottom. And I would try to figure out, and I think it came from playing accompanying guitar with like my dad, who's a guitar player. We sang in church together and did lots of youth events and stuff together. And he would play like a G chord, right? And I would be like trying to figure out, well, how can I play something that goes with that isn't just a G, the exact same G chord. And so what would happen is I would figure out, okay, well, if that's a G, and I knew my octaves. So if you know your octave trick, right? So you go, down 2 strings over 2 frets. Right? Same is true here. Same note. Same note. Okay? And so once you know that, then I would encourage you, the next thing to do would be to try to figure out where all those notes are on the guitar. So learn, okay, well, if that's my G there, and that's my G there, then I'm going to do the same thing here. Now on the B string, doesn't work. You got to hop it up 1 fret because of the way it's strung, right? So if you're doing an octave, and then you go up to here, you have to spread 1 extra fret. Okay? So, let me fix this reverb. So basically, all I'm saying is, I think the important thing is not necessarily what is the scale, it's, learning your notes and learning those chords. So if you know that this chord, G, is made up of G, D, there's another G, and then the third, right? B. So if you've got those, then I know, I can play G, or here's D, G, B up here. That's part of my bar chord. Right? So if that's G, then I know my rule. Once I get to the B string, I have to skip an extra fret to get over. So I go down and over, and there's my octave. So you learn your octaves. Back to, here's another G, here's another G, G. So you start learning all your spots where you have a G, right? And once you get to here, you're starting all over. It's the 12th fret, you just start all over. So really, if you could just kind of pretend this, you just start learning where all those shapes are. So if we're playing in G, and this song is in the key of G, well, I instantly know, I can go right here, and there's a G. And I'm instantly playing something different then. So if someone's playing this, I can be, and it works. Or I can be up here. So this is the same notes. So you're just learning where all your G notes are on the guitar, and then once you know that, then you just use your relative notes. So like if you know that G is here, and and you want to get to C, well, C's right here, right? G, C. So if I'm here, well, where's C? So I can start my scale, right? So you start learning where all your scales are all over the guitar, and then you can mix them into any song that's in like a major key like that. Or if you're in minor, you just use the relative key, it's the same scale. And so, you know, I think really the major scale is the best place to start. Just learning that scale, and then you can use it in most worship songs, pop music, rock music. You know, a lot of that stuff is, you know, before you get into like the minor blues stuff, which would be a whole different world. You know, this works on a lot of levels. And I think one of the main things I would say, just a piece of advice with this stuff, is instead of thinking in scales, think in parts and melodies. And really the big question, you know, when someone asked that question, it was a great question, because I have the same question often. Be like, what are they playing out of? And I think one thing that's helpful is to think, you know, what's musical? So instead of thinking, well, what's the scale I'm in and what mode am I in? You know, what's musical? Like if you're playing in the key of G, you know, what might be musical is just, and all I did was I'm just sliding up into part of the chord. And then you get to the C chord, right? And what's musical might be, right? And all I'm doing is playing part of the chord. So you could go, but all I'm saying is you're playing out of the chord shapes, right? So you're getting your ideas, and then you're back to your root. So I guess all I'm saying is you're playing notes within chords, right? You learn your chord, you know where your notes are all over the fretboard. Once you learn where all your G's are and all your C's and all your D's. And then you start just thinking relative to where you are. So I know, okay, D is here. There's a chord right there. Well, so is this, right? And so is this. And so is this. And so is this, right? And then you can just start working. You start working your way all through the fretboard, knowing these two little notes. It's all the same notes throughout the fretboard. So just something quick on that. Someone had asked about the scales, and I promise you, I know no more than major scale and pentatonic scale. We can work on pentatonic on another thing, but really it's just most of the major scale with a few notes missing, and that just gives it a different color. So for now, my quick answer would be learn the major scale, learn your chord shapes all over the fretboard, and learn where those notes are. And you play out of that. That's the beginning of kind of opening up your mind to the fretboard, kind of unlocking this whole thing and seeing it like, oh, I'm seeing different notes and seeing different chords all through the fretboard. I think that's the key. So I hope that helps. That's just a quick little thought I had as an answer to one of those questions. Thanks for the comments and everything. Thanks for watching and for all the questions and everything. I love that. It's so fun. I'm going to keep trying to attack these kind of one at a time, and hope that helps.